On today's episode, bold predictions. Bold predictions last year on the episode, I said that Kyle Pitts would outscore Travis Kelce. I had a claim that A.J. Dillon was flat out better than Aaron Jones. I said that Trey Lance would score 10 rushing touchdowns. That was what we procured last year for bold predictions. We have a segment in season called Milk Was a Bad Choice where we get to air out some of our worst takes, worst decisions throughout the season. I am very excited to air out some of these takes that we will have in this segment of Milk Was a Bad Choice. Here's how this works. We've each probably got 3 or 5 bold predictions. We might go rapid fire at the end of the episode. We believe only the takes that will come true. That's how this works. If it doesn't come true, then it's just a bold dart throw. If it comes true, we thought it all along, 100%. Right, fellas? That's how we're doing this on today's episode.
Yeah, we kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out on these ones. Yep.
Exactly. We're going to start with hot takes, and then we're going to make our way down to deranged takes. So that's the plan. None of these are probably going to make sense in order. I have a couple flip-flop takes that I couldn't decide on, so I think it's going to be a great time when we get to the deranged part of the segment here. Keegan, why don't you kick things off here? What is one of your hot or bold predictions?
If you've been following the pod, and if you've been listening to me, there's a particular wide receiver that I am incredibly high on this year. He happens to play in the city that I live in, and his name is Mike Williams. And my bold take for Mike Williams this year is he will play a healthy 17 games this year and be a top 10 fantasy wide receiver in points per game. I've gone on and on about the new offense, Kellen Moore. I don't need to revisit that. Deep threat ability from Big Mike, a higher ADOT from Justin Herbert, more plays because he's going to play all 17 games. He's 100% playing all 17 games, and he will not get injured this year. And he's going to make the leap into the top 10 fantasy wide receiver spot in a points per game basis. Last year, did some poking around, some researching. This is a minimum 8 games played and a minimum of 75 targets. He was 22nd in points per game with about 13.6 points per game. To be number 10, he'd need about 17 points per game. I think that's totally doable. If he stays healthy, and I mean actually healthy and not like goes out after a drive during a game, plays all 17, I think top 10 points per game is absolutely in his range.
You love Mike Williams, so
that's his
can't say that comes out of surprise. So I agree with like the conditional part of the take. I think if Mike Williams plays all 17, he's absolutely has the talent, and that scheme could propel him to be top 10. But the first part is the one that I'm worried about. Obviously, I know
that's why
I've been putting a damper on it, but no, I love that. I think Mike Williams absolutely has the chance to explode in that offense this year. So, no, I love that for you, Keegan.
I love that journey for you.
Yeah,
that's pretty solid. I'm not gonna say no. I think if Mike Williams plays a whole year, like we saw that 6-week stretch to open up 2021 where he was the number 1 receiver in fantasy. So I think that ceiling outcomes is definitely within his range. I don't know if he'll do it, but I think that's a good, bold prediction. I like that. It's sticking true to who you are. I have one that's semi-related to the Chargers, and it has something to do with Kellen Moore. I think Dak Prescott's going to have a better season than Justin Herbert. There it is. That's my bold prediction. I think that Mike McCarthy is going to be an upgrade in play calling and point scoring over Kellen Moore. And I believe that Dak Prescott is going to set a career year over Justin Herbert. That's a bold prediction. I think cutting things off in a hot take here. Again, I do not believe this if it doesn't come true. If it comes true, I absolutely own this. I believe this. Where does this take really come from? I think we're all excited about the Kellen Moore offense. I think we're all excited at the fact they're going to run a ton of plays. I think we're excited that the Chargers are going to hit more explosives. But I'm sorry, it's not like he's the best play caller in the world, and it's not like the Chargers weren't running a shit ton of plays. They ran like the 3rd most plays in the NFL last season. They played at a high rate. They just didn't have a lot of explosives. I think that had more to do with injuries than it had to do with play calling. And the last time Mike McCarthy was an offensive coordinator, the Packers passed the shit out of the ball. Dak Prescott's playing behind one of the best offensive lines in football. They bring in Brandon Cooks. They've removed, 200-plus non-explosive touches from Ezekiel Elliott, and that's going to Tony Pollard to some extent. I just think this offense is explosive. It's going to score a shit ton of points. They play in a tough division. They're going to be a ton of shootouts. I think Dak's got something to prove, and I think this is the best year of Dak's career, and he has a better season than Justin Herbert. So I know it's a scorcher, but that's kind of where I'm at. It's a bold prediction. I think I can't believe that's one of my lighter predictions here. But
that is much bolder than my first take, for sure.
So it gets crazier than this? That's your least crazy take.
Oh, it gets way crazier here.
Oh, man. Yeah. I don't know if I added enough spice to my bold takes, but we'll get around to mine later.
Okay, yeah. One of my just like baby hot takes that I was just going to rapid fire at the end was Justin Herbert's going to lead the league in passing yards.
Yes, I love it.
So
I love it.
My last rapid fire hot take, since we're all doing this, is Justin Herbert throws for 45 touchdowns.
Yeah, I was like, I think Justin Herbert goes fucking
that's
nuclear.
on my list.
I almost said he breaks the single season passing yard record.
Okay, that's a bold take, but that's not a bold take because everyone's saying Herbert's going to go off. But what
yours
if
is
Kellen Moore? What if Kellen Moore isn't as good a play caller and the Chargers
saying, what if it was Kellen?
Team?
What if Kellen was the problem?
What? No, I'm not saying he was the problem because I think he's a good play caller and he's a good play designer. But I'm just, what has Kellen Moore done? I know they've had good offenses, but was that because he had Dak Prescott and an incredible offensive line? I don't know. We're gonna see, but I'm just saying.
I like it.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit. That's on anointing the Chargers offense is where I'm coming from here. But I want all the Chargers I can get in fantasy. So again, it's more of just a bold prediction in that sense.
All right.
Aidan, what's your first non-mini take here?
So we're gonna stay in the AFC West. It is actually the contrary to Keegan's to some degree, and this is a guy who is pretty accustomed to being a top 5, top 10 wide receiver over his career, and I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think Davante Adams finishes outside of the top 10 wide receivers in fantasy for the first year since 2019, where he was the wide receiver 23. Granted, he did miss 4 games. I just think things are not set up for Davante to have a great year with Jimmy Garoppolo. A lot of his strengths are those kind of perimeter balls and deeper stuff down the field, which, as we know, is really not Jimmy's strong suit. So I think it would take a ton of volume in the short and intermediate stuff for Davante to hit that top 10, especially with some of the younger wide receivers around him that I think are going after him, like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. Like, I'm taking those guys over Davante personally this year. I know that's spicy as well, but I just think those guys have so much more upside in terms of fully stretching the field and a full route tree. You look at Davante the last 3 years, he's been wide receiver 3, 2, and 1 in that order the last 3 years. So, he's not accustomed to being outside of this range, but I'm just not a believer. This has pretty much been a guy that I'm not drafting at all. In redraft, I think I've got some shares of him in best ball, but his situation just doesn't scream a ton of confidence to me. And for that reason, Davante Adams will not be finishing as a top 10 receiver. I'm out. So I'm out on Tay. Simple as that.
I think it's crazy to fade him, and then I look at all my best ball teams and I look at all my redraft teams, and it's like, where's Tay? You're not gonna find him. It's like Magic Johnson. I'm not gonna be here. I don't find myself drafting a ton of them. I was going through some fantasy points data today though, and my goodness, the Raiders ran a shit ton of plays last year. He might be good enough and efficient enough, even though he's not going to score 14 touchdowns and he's not going to hit on like 9 deep touchdowns. Like, that's not going to happen. But they might just run enough plays and have enough pass attempts that he might be able to fall into the top 10. But I think the funniest thing is, like, I'm drafting Garrett Wilson. He could be, Davante Adams to Aaron Rodgers in New York.
Exactly.
Well, you could just have Deontay Adams. But I think that's the state of fantasy football here now, where it's like age 30 receiver. It's like, I'm good. It's like the Leo meme for 26-year-olds for running backs. So I think it's a good one. I don't find myself drafting a ton of Tay.
Let's turn it up a notch, Keegan. What do you got for us next on your number 2 spicy take?
I don't know if this is spicy, but maybe crazy might be a better term. But hear me out. Eric Bieniemy in his last 4 years actually in Kansas City, his running backs have totaled 107 targets in 2022. In 2021, they totaled 105 targets. In 2020, they totaled 108 targets. And in 2019, the running backs targeted at 106 times in Kansas City. This year, Antonio Gibson gets at least 90 targets and catches the ball 70 times en route to like a top 15 RB finish.
I mean, he's had top 12 finishes before, so we know it's in his range of outcomes.
Yep.
You're sipping. I mean, we're sipping the Kool-Aid on Antonio Gibson. Aidan has me a believer.
I am all in on him. My redraft teams are littered with Antonio Gibson. I think your projections are maybe like a little high, but it wouldn't surprise me. Like if you think about 90 targets over the course of a 17-game season, that's really not that many on a weekly basis. So no, you can talk me into that one. It's hard for sure. But we all might just get hurt again by Antonio Gibson. I'm not sure.
But okay, he's a 9th round pick, so he can't hurt us that bad, right? This season.
He's cheap.
And okay, so do we think that the Commanders are going to have an excellent defense? I don't know. They have some first round draft capital. They have a good defensive line.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
How many points are they giving up? And then also McLaurin's already hurt, right? So if McLaurin's missing time, you're going to see Gibson. You're going to see these running backs because Brian Robinson's already gotten a decent amount of targets in the preseason, but you're going to see these running backs get targeted a bunch if McLaurin misses time because you're just going to need secondary playmakers behind Dotson. So I think that's a good take. I love how Keegan's are very actionable. Like Mike Williams is going to play a full 17 games and be a top 12 play. He's very like because my take is just like nonsense garbage. Like my second take is Jahmyr Gibbs outscores Bijan Robinson. Wow, I can't believe I said it.
I've got a related take, but keep going.
Oh, okay, okay.
I also have a Jahmyr take, and I almost did that exact same one, but mine's no. Yeah, keep going on yours, and then I want to build off of it.
Everyone loves to say Bijan Robinson got drafted to a team with one of the best run offenses in football, with one of the best O-lines in football, with one of the best run designers in football, and he's playing in an offense where he's going to see a ton of targets, and he went 7th overall. Now, what if I told you there was another guy in the draft that went 5 picks later that plays just a good offensive line, that has just a bad defense, that could be in a timeshare almost as much as Bijan is? Like, are we like completely sure?
Offensive coordinator.
And the thing that we're really missing here is that the BMI is off. Jahmyr Gibbs weighs 199 pounds. Bijan's built like a tank. And that's really one of the main differences here in terms of their profile, right? And that's why Bijan has this larger projectable volume. However, this makes me a little scared to make this prediction because they're already talking about him running deep shots with Jahmyr Gibbs. That doesn't sound like a good way to run your offense.
No,
I know he's a dynamic guy. What if we just gave him 15 carries? How about that? That'd probably be better for fantasy, right? And running about deep shots. That's how you know the Lions' offense might be a little fucked if their Jahmyr Gibbs is their deep wide receiver. But I mean, they might be in a position where this guy is clearly the second best player in their offense, and they need to just feature him like crazy, right? And we've talked about this ad nauseum with the Falcons. It's like a lot of mouths to feed, maybe not a ton of plays. They're gonna run a really slow offense. Like, is Bijan, what's the split going to be with Tyler Algier? Like, I've got another Bijan take later in the episode that I'll talk about, but, like, there are a lot of question marks. I could easily see Bijan crushing Gibbs, but at the same time, are their setups really that much different? Like, really that much different?
Man.
That's it. It's funny you said that because I almost did the exact same take. Mine's a little different here. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs leads all running backs in receptions this year and finishes as a top 6 wide receiver in PPR formats.
Top 6 running back.
Top 6 running back in PPR formats.
I love it.
I'm glad you said that because in leading in targets, for my Antonio Gibson take, by the way, like only 2 running backs last year went over 90 targets. Like
exactly.
Ramondre Stevenson was right there at 87, and then Leonard Fournette had 79 targets. Jesus Christ. But Christian McCaffrey had 104 targets last year, and Eckler had the 123. Craziness. But someone is emerging this year in that echelon of pass-catching running backs. And my money's in Antonio Gibson.
He probably
but I
needs
like
to
the
get
Gibbs
to,
take.
like, realistically, like, roughly 80 to 90 catches. You're probably... Like, last year was an anomaly with Eckler going for 108. The year prior, guess who it was?
The year prior who led the NFL... Was it Lenny?
No. We hate him. Great rookie season. It was fucking Najee.
Najee, yeah. Oh, with the Big Ben. With the Big Ben, like,
I knew he caught a ton of passes, but
he had 74 catches in 2021 and 91
just
targets.
Just dump offs.
Yeah.
It was literally the whole offense was dump offs to Najee.
Yeah, he probably needs about 80 receptions. And if you do that, like if you look at last year, Eckler was RB1. Previous year, Najee and Eckler were RB2 and 3, respectively. Like, if you catch 70 to 80 balls, like it's pretty hard for you not to end up in that top 5, top 8 running back range, especially in a PPR league. Like it's just so many free points you're just like accruing for nothing.
The price on Gibbs just seems kind of out of whack. Like you get him in the third, halfway through the third round. I get it. The Montgomery, they paid him a decent amount of money.
Yeah,
Montgomery's going to get a ton of touches. I get it. It's more of that like that timeshare situation, but PPR back that ran like a sub 4.4 who was excellent in the SEC coming in with a very specific PPR role, who's just going to have the burners. I feel like we're sleeping on Gibbs in comparison to Bijan.
I woke up one morning. I've kind of just been like not talking a ton about him all summer, and then just like one day I was like, I'm like all in. I'm like, what happened to me? Like I don't even know what got into me.
I was preaching the Gibbs gospel for day one.
I just drafted him this last weekend. I'm like, congrats, you're my RB1, and I'm confident. And I'm like, what's happened to me? This isn't. I didn't believe in this until like 2-3 weeks ago. Now I'm just like, give me all the Gibbs shares.
I love
all
that.
Right, Keegan.
Man, I did not come with the spicy enough takes today. This feels tame, but my next one, maybe the spiciest one I've had so far, but Jordan Addison, JSN, and Zay Flowers all go for 1,000 yards in their rookie seasons.
It's pretty spicy. That's
pretty spicy as hell.
Yeah, that's pretty hot.
All three of them, or like a combination?
No, all three of them each individually have 1,000-yard seasons this year. Jordan Addison, I don't need to talk about that offense. They're going to pass the ball a ton.
I think it's
extremely doable. Yeah. JSN emerges in this offense as either the 2 or the 1 by the end of it and goes for 1,000 yards. Gino threw for 4,200 yards.
I think they'll have multiple 1,000-yard pass catchers. We've just got to hope that JSN is one of the 2. Or if they have 3, that'd be kind of
according to my bold take, he will be. He will be.
Yeah, he will be.
So he will be. And then Zay Flowers,
I
think, this is my take. And I think Zay Flowers is the not necessarily, maybe not the highest point getter, like in like just total fantasy points for Baltimore, but I think with Lamar this year and how high I am on him, it only made sense to add him to this take. Originally, I thought it was Jordan Addison and JSN. I was like, no, I think all 3 of these rookies go for 1,000 yards in their first year.
What if Jordan Addison is the clear wide receiver 3 in this offense behind Hawkinson, and he just has like a 800-yard receiving season, and Hawkinson's the one that goes off and like fully takes the Thielen role? Have we like fully priced?
Well, no, that's not my take. That's not my take.
Once again, this is my take.
I didn't make the take. I'm just asking the questions. Fellas.
There's enough yardage to go around.
Yeah.
I've got a Vikings take, but I'll get to that in a second. I love the idea of Zay Flowers getting over 1,000 yards. I think
that's the hardest one.
You think
so?
The
hardest one for sure.
No QJ here too, because did you put QJ in it for a reason or take him out?
I think the way I think about that offense, like it's already like
Mike Williams.
Jordan Addison is. Well, of course, I have that take, but Jordan Addison is the second already. JSN will emerge, I think, is the second. I think Zay, like Bateman, I'm still drafting a ton of them, but like Odell he's older. Like I just think those 3 like have a clear path, whereas QJ is like that's a lot of competition, and they're like pretty confident in Palmer. I know you're not a fan of Palmer, Shaun, but the Los Angeles Chargers organization is. So we have to deal with that. Plus, there's just too many mouths to feed for QJ to make that happen.
I'm not that worried about Josh Palmer, but again, devil's advocate here, I think that the Vikings are pretty high on KJ Osborne. And really, if you look at their underlying statistics,
fuck that. He's still second on the depth chart. He's still second.
KJ Osborne is better than Josh Palmer. So I think, and I know this sounds blasphemous here, but like we're in a situation where QJ could be the 3rd or 4th guy on the squad, and maybe at the beginning of the year Jordan Addison is too. I hope not. We have a lot of JA shares. We've touted him a ton this year. Yeah. I think with a sleeping giant to talk about is Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, what the fuck is going to happen there? Is he going to have 500 yards, or is he going to go for 1,500? Because I could definitely see both happening.
He's going off this year.
The whole team's going off. Yeah. To Keegan's point, like they're going to score so many points. It is that offense in general is going to be legit.
You're low-key going to need an injury for him to truly hit his ceiling, though. And I don't really want to root for that. Or DK Metcalf is just being totally overdrafted, and he should be in the 5th or 6th round along with Tyler Lockett, and JSN should be later. And they are all closer to each other, and they all hover around 1,000 yards. So I don't know how we're going to get there, but
it's probably like 2 of them just clear 1,000, and the third guy is around like 800, and they count for like 3,000 yards as a whole. And then you've got your wide receivers, you've got your tight ends there who count for another 1,500.
So bold prediction, Geno Smith's going to like be a top 5 quarterback this year, right? I mean, if JSN's getting to 1,000, I feel like Geno's going to be incredible.
This is a combo take. Yeah, this is a combo take.
Well, sorry, I'm stepping on Keegan's take here. This take is creating takes. It's a take that creates life.
He was QB5 last year. Like, it feels hard for him to get back there, but it's not crazy. I think like
Lockett and DK both went for 1,000 last year. Geno threw for 4,200. Offense remains the same. All they did was add like an incredible talent.
O-line's older too now. They had a really talented young offensive line. Their O-line's supposed to be better. Their defense is so-so. They're going to play in a lot of shootouts. They play the Rams and Cardinals.
That's pretty sweet. That's 4.
JSN could get 1,000 in 4 games.
I mean, he went for 300 against Utah.
That was so sweet.
I've got a hot take. This one's pretty hot here. I think the 101's a terrible pick this year, and I don't think anyone that drafts Justin Jefferson is going to win their fantasy leagues.
You better take that back right now.
I don't really I think the people drafting at the end who are going to get
look at me, I'm so cool.
Pollard and Chubb and Amon-Ra St. Brown and all those guys, I feel like that end of the draft or the middle is going to win people leagues and not Justin Jefferson at the 101. And if you look at his 101 season last year, he got there on one being ultra efficient and being an incredible receiver, but also he ran the most routes in the NFL by a mile. I saw this crazy stat from Scott Barrett. If Tyreek Hill ran the same amount of routes that Justin Jefferson ran last year, he would have had 400 more receiving yards than Justin Jefferson had last year. So I know that Jefferson only scored 9 touchdowns. Given how many yards he had, he probably should have scored like 12. So maybe he might have positive touchdown regression. But the Vikings could just run less plays this season, have a better defense, and they might not be in the game scripts that they were in last year. And all of a sudden, Justin Jefferson's having a phenomenal year, but he's not your 101 good, and you wish you had drafted a stud running back. So I know that sounds kind of crazy and blasphemous. We all love Jettis. I love Jettis. Come on. I love Justin Jefferson. He took me to a championship last year, so it's much respect. However, I don't think the 101's that great of a pick this year. Leave it at that. That's my scorching hot take.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I just drafted there this weekend. I feel pretty good, so I hope you're wrong. But but to your point, I've been loving the end of the draft as well. The Nick Chubbs, the Tony Pollards, the Garrett Wilsons. It's like you've got a bit more flexibility, and there's just not as much pressure. Like the 1-1 also like rarely lives up to the price. Like he's got to have like another just like insanely efficient season to pay off in price. I think he's still probably a lock to be a top 5 player in fantasy, but being the 1-1 again it's tricky. It's tricky. All right, I've got one. Speaking about 1-1s, this is a guy who, for the record, I wrote this down before some news went down today. So I got ahead of this one. I was ahead of this one. Darren Waller will be the tight end 1 in fantasy football this year.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. That doesn't even feel spicy to me.
It kind of feels pretty spicy.
I think
because he's saying he's going to leapfrog. Not only is he going to leapfrog Kelce, he's going
Andrews
to
and Kelce.
Andrews.
I think we've talked about this though on the pod this like summer. Like we've talked about when we did our tight end tier episodes. That's like Mark Andrews is his own tier, and there's another tier of people who could like potentially be in Mark Andrews or Kelce tier.
It's a fat jump,
and
though.
Darren's in there.
The Andrews and Kelce jump is quite extreme though, given their volume. But
yeah,
I think he's gonna see that similar volume this year. Like if he doesn't lead that offense in targets, I'd be genuinely surprised. Like there's no reason why, Isaiah Hodgins or
how dare you
you better take that back right now. Yeah, it's just like, and he's been a tight end 2. He's been a tight end 3. You know, it's been 2 years since he's been there. But Darren Waller is going to be healthy, and he's going to be your tight end 1. And you probably got him in the 6th round, and you're pretty stoked about it.
So he's leapfrogging Kelce. He's leapfrogging Andrews. He's leapfrogging Kyle Pitts.
I would even say he's behind Kyle Pitts, man.
Yeah.
I did that just to get the reaction out of you two. Okay, so that I like it. It's hot in the sense like it seems less hot now that we know that Kelce's going to miss some time with the hyperextension. But recording this, this is Tuesday evening. This is going to drop Wednesday morning, right? So we got the news today, so it's a little bit less hot.
Yeah.
However.
Hey, he cleared the air. He wrote this down before the news.
He did. Yeah,
I think the Andrews injury has been really weird too. Like they're like, he's fine, but we're not telling you what it is, even though he's missed the last 2 weeks. It's like, what do you mean? What's going on?
It sounds like he's fine. Ton of Mark Andrews over the past week. But he's supposed to practice. So I think both of them can duke it out because I think they are going to be the number ones. But in terms of target competition for Darren Waller, it's basically non-existent.
It's similar to Kelce. Yeah, it's just like a lot of complementary pieces in that offense, and he's the true alpha there. So
he's played 11 games over the past 2 seasons. It's not like when he's played in those 11 games, he hasn't been good. Like he's still a good player. It's just mostly been an injury thing. I think there was a vibes thing that was a little bit off in Las Vegas
for sure.
Too.
It was a sudden quit to a degree potentially.
Getting his hamstring was just he got that contract and then was just like I ain't playing for you, dog.
Good.
I think it's setting up quite nicely. We've been in on the Giants literally all off season,
sure.
So I like that. Keegan, what's your next take here?
Sticking on the tight end and the rookie trend, I'd like to go back to the Lions and talk about how Sam LaPorta will be second on the team in targets, eclipse 100 targets on the year, and will finish as a top 5 fantasy tight end on the year, being the first rookie tight end to do so since Evan Ingram did in 2017.
Wow. So he outscores Kincaid.
Oh, yeah. I'm way beyond that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. He's going to be a top 5 fantasy tight end this year. That is my bold take. Evan Ingram did it in 2017. Pitts in his rookie year was number 6, and he was a little bit out of that range. Not a lot of rookies have done it. There's been a lot of rookies who have finished top 10, but only Evan Ingram had that top 5 position. And as we know, rookie fantasy tight ends are not typically where you want to go, but Jameson Williams out for 6 weeks. Corpse of Marvin Jones, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the only real alpha there.
Don't forget Josh Reynolds.
Don't forget
Well,
Josh.
I could never forget Texas A&M legend Josh Reynolds. Sorry. I apologize. I should have mentioned him. But, yeah, I just think the path is pretty clear. And top 5 feels like it is round. The position is such a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot every year. And we think this year it's going to be better. And I think it'll probably just be more of the same frustrating things. But one rookie will emerge this year. And it'll be Sam LaPorta.
When you're looking at the Lions offense, a lot of people think they're going to be good. And then you start to look in who's going to get targets. Like a lot of people are like, this offense is going to kick ass. Everybody get ready. It's going to kick ass. You're like, okay, Amon-Ra, let's pencil him for a league-leading 12 targets on Jared Goff's 36 pass attempts a game. Like, where else is this going? And then you just look at where the talent is, especially the first 6 weeks of the year. It's like, how is Sam LaPorta not seeing 4 to 5 targets a game to start, right? He earned this he earned this starting tight end job really quickly. Like, what do we know from this Dan Campbell coaching staff? They wouldn't even put DeAndre Swift on the field, even if it meant winning more football games, because they didn't really vibe with him. Like, you got to earn the trust of Dan Campbell and this coaching staff. He did that in OTAs. He earned the starting job. He's had it since then. And I when we previewed tight ends, I loved him. He was the best player in the worst offense in football in Iowa. And the guy was just a forced tackle baby Kittle machine. Like he looked like somebody who could be really special in the next level. So I love that. I think he's my favorite rookie tight end out of the bunch.
They loved their tight ends last year. Shane Zylstra, if I'm looking at this right, caught 4 touchdowns this year. Brock Wright caught 4 touchdowns at the tight end position last year. Dude, 8 touchdowns between those two? Are you telling me Sam LaPorta can't come in and absolutely dominate and potentially finish top 5 at the tight end position? I'm all in.
Preaching to the choir here. Aidan,
Yeah.
what's your next take?
I'm in. This is kind of just like a little like it's not even that hot.
You laughed before you said it.
No, it's just like it's really not hot. Like it was just one of the ones I just started rapid firing. This is a guy that like we all love. It really wouldn't be that surprising, but Tony Pollard's going to lead the league in scrimmage yards this year.
Boom.
RB1.
Tony Pollard, my take. Tony Pollard scores 20 total touchdowns this year. I have that
20
in my
touchdowns.
Yeah.
He goes full.
Yeah,
he goes
so it's
full
like-
Austin Eckler. Full Austin Eckler.
Yeah, because I think Eckler's going to take a bit of a step back, obviously, in the receiving game, and Tony Pollard's receiving volume probably stays about the same, but he's going to see more volume on the ground.
150 vacated
So I
touches
think, like-
without Zeke.
It's really not that hot, but it's like it's just gonna happen. Like Tony Pollard's gonna fucking explode this year, and to our point earlier, you probably got him somewhere in the 12 to 15 range with an elite wide receiver, and you are buzzing. Like you are absolutely dominating your league, assuming you hit some of your round 3 to 6, round 3 to 8 picks. So Tony P, RB1, give it to me.
I love that. The Tony Pollard Austin Eckler comps are
It's too
very
easy.
It's very comparable,
It's too
and it goes
easy.
right into my Dak has a better season than Justin Herbert. Cowboys offense explodes. The case for Tony Pollard is the guy on a per touch basis is incredible. There's literally no one behind him. The Cowboys have a great offensive infrastructure. He's a great pass catcher. He's explosive. He scores touchdown. Basically, if he gets the goal line work for the first time in his career this year, he is going to go nuclear. Like
For sure.
truly nuclear. It just seems like he's destined for that.
Yep.
I got Tony Pollard in the second round. I was drafting at the 105, and he made it back to me after I took Tyreek Hill. So I had
In
a
a
Tyreek
12 team.
Yeah, Tyreek Tony Pollard start.
So what's that? The 19 spot?
20th,
The
19th, 20th spot. Yeah, it's the
That'd
second
be-
time in this week that he made it
That's
back. to
Yo
me.
Play Central right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got one here that is absurdly hot. I think that the 2022 QB class, right? So Brock Purdy, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, and Sam Howell
I was gonna say,
On
don't
a-
forget Sam Howell.
on a point per game basis will outscore the 2021 class, which is of course Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones on a per game.
Are you
basis.
talking like total?
Their average when you add up all their points divided
The
by
four
all
of
the games
them?
they play, yeah, the four of them on like their average total, so not a cumulative, right? Because 4 versus 3, they will average the four of them will average more points per game than the 2021 historic QB class.
That's
Wow.
crazy. But honestly, not that crazy because I'm not expecting but I'm not expecting anything from Mac Jones. So it's like Justin Fields both of those guys probably need to be like top 5, or the 2022 class needs to be like really bad, right?
Dude, I cannot believe there are more starting quarterbacks in the NFL this season from the 2022 class than the 2021 class. That is
People roasted the
fucking
2022
nuts.
class.
Yes. And Malik
Roasted.
Willis looks great. And like if anything happens to Tannehill, Willis
Yeah.
beat out Levis. He's gonna get the job if Tannehill can't stay healthy. So it's just insane to think that hodgepodge group of quarterbacks has 4 starting roles right now in the NFL over the
Who-
2021 draft.
To kind of just bend your arm a little more, who's the best one? Who do you think is
Sam
going to be the
Howell.
highest on a
In
point per game
fantasy?
basis? In fantasy, yes. I guess both.
Oh man, I think it's a tie between Brock and Kenny P. I think just purely offensive
For
infrastructure.
fantasy or
Yeah, for fantasy, yeah. For purely offensive infrastructure, like those guys have a ton of weapons. I mean, it'd be kind of hard for Brock not to outscore those guys, right? Like if everything hits, he's got just a Death Star behind him.
I think I'm going Sam,
You're
just
going
because of
Sam because the
I think
rushing.
because the rushing.
Okay, so
and
you
I-
just think he hero balls it.
I also think you could argue like his weapons aren't far off, or even,
The
about
O
as
line's an
good.
issue. The O line's an
Yeah.
issue with Sam Howell, but again, the scrambling kind of plays into that. They have a good run game. Who knows
Yeah.
what the play calling? Who knows? Whoever able like if they run a super fast offense, because if you saw in the preseason, the Steelers were running a super fast offense. So if the Steelers get a ton of plays off, dude, I think Kenny Pickett could easily clear it.
He looked pretty sharp. I'm not gonna lie, he
Note
looked really
of
sharp.
this QB class, I had to include some Sam Howell love in here. Sam Howell outscores Deshaun Watson in total points and has a higher points per game in fantasy this year.
Whoa,
I love it.
I love that.
No one is taking Deshaun Watson in these drafts. I've had 2 drafts this week, and this man just slides like the 13th round. No one wants a deviant. I'm like proud of my friends for not taking him early. Like,
it just like feels like a misdemeanor, even like looking at him. I'm like, I don't want him near my team. It like this should be illegal having him on my roster.
I also have oh, sorry, I was going to say, Shaun, because you're speaking about the 2022 quarterbacks.
Do it.
I have something for you. I wasn't going to bring this up, but then you brought up Brock. I think Brock starts less than 9 games this year.
You're stealing this from the Ringer, guys.
No, I said, dude, I literally tweeted this out. Out like a couple days ago. I think Sam. This is not stolen from them. I put this out there into the atmosphere. I think it was Trill Withers. Yeah.
Because it was about Sam. So this is because he's benched, not injured, correct?
Correct.
Or could it be okay?
So this was Danny Heifetz's exact take on the Ringer Fantasy podcast. He said that Brock Purdy will straight up get benched and Sam Darnold will lead the 49ers to a Super Bowl. That was his hot take.
No, I'm not that far. I think Kyle Shanahan I think he'll get over Brock.
How dare you?
He could just be Nick Mullins. He could be Nick Mullins, or he's Steve Young. I don't know what he is.
It's big cock Brock, baby. So
they really do love him. That would be like maybe the most scorching hot thing. I also covered that Tony Pollard scores 20 touchdowns with you guys because I know Aidan brought up his take. My last one is this is after the Kelce, so it's probably not that bold, but I think Skyy Moore is going to be the Kansas City wide receiver 1. Lead in points in PPR
over
points
Kelce.
Per game. Correct.
Oh, what? Oh, fuck no. No, that is so... How is this not in your, like, spiciest takes? That's crazy. You think someone else is going to outscore Kelce in that offense?
I've been seeing a lot of people, like, bold taking, like, MBS will, like, be their wide receiver 1. I think Skyy Moore will be their leading fantasy pass catcher this year.
Holy shit, Keegan. That's crazy.
The boldest take is Kadarius Toney, Undertaker music, comes back from the dead and is just absurd this year. That's the boldest take, right? Is Kadarius Toney is the one who goes absolutely nuclear in this offense after missing out the offseason. I don't think it'll happen, but
Skyy Moore, Kelce.
Wow.
I love that.
Dude, what if the Chiefs aren't that good this year?
Okay.
What if
guys, it's Patrick Mahomes.
I know, but like missing Kelce, there's no Chris Jones. I mean, you're talking about somebody who has a lot of Patrick Mahomes, right? So I do not want this to happen. But what if this is like the toughest year Mahomes has had because of his
Then he wins 12 games instead of 14, and they still fucking sweep through the AFC.
But define tough for Patrick Mahomes.
I got another one. Kevin Stefanski, first coach fired.
Yeah, that's easy for me.
Yeah.
You don't think it's because everyone's saying they're going to be a 12-win team. Like, take them to win the North. And
that's
I'm like,
why
I'm not seeing it. Like, are you seeing it?
Yeah, I've pumped my brakes on them pretty hard.
I've been saying that the Vikings will be shittier as well.
You mean the Browns?
Sorry, the Browns. Sorry, the Browns.
Stefanski with the Vikings connection.
I know.
Right? But the expectations then, and the fact that they gave Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed contract, if it comes out and like the offense looks bad, they'll just fire Stefanski and find a head coach that'll work well with Watson, right? Like that
because the rest of the division figures to be really good too. So if they come out of the gate like very slow to start with, I think like he's the scapegoat probably because you can't bench Deshaun like.
No, you can't. You gave
who else is the fall guy?
Contract.
I'm so glad you said this. When I was writing out my takes, I was like, DTR to start at least 3 games at quarterback. I deleted it.
He's going to have to get hurt. No, the best would be if Watson gets hurt and then DTR comes in and DTR is just way better. That would be hilarious.
That would be so freaking cool.
That'd be so
I was typing it out and I was like, because everything you just said, Shaun, like the money, the contract, how much they owe him, like if anything were to change, it would not be Deshaun. But I was writing it out. I was like, DTR to start at least 3 games. I'm like, no, this is wrong. I can't do this.
Their offensive line is a wagon. Cooper's great. We all like Moore, and Njoku's sick. Like DPJ is a good receiver. Like everything makes sense. They have Nick Chubb. They have Nick fucking Chubb. But like, what if Watson just stinks? Then like they can't let go of Watson. They fully guaranteed this guy. So they're gonna have to figure out a coordinator that can quote unquote fix him, you know.
This is good. Any more? Let's rapid fire. What else have we got? What do you guys got in the chamber?
I've got one.
I'm ready.
Bijan Robinson has the greatest rookie season of all time.
Yeah, so counterintuitive to your Jahmyr Gibbs take, though.
No, but we're in the deranged segment, right? Like, okay, so I could not make up my mind on this Falcons team, and I think we should talk about this Falcons team because something spicy is going to happen here. Because this could be one of the best offenses in football. Desmond Ridder might actually be decent, and Bijan Robinson might get the King Henry treatment. But but again, just think about it, Holler. Like just open up a world of possibilities where like Desmond Ridder is a competent average NFL quarterback. In that situation, how good do we think this Falcons offense is? Because I think this Falcons offense would be really fucking good if he's like even decent.
I don't think he is though, which is my hardest part here.
That's fair, right? Because he played 4 games, and in those 4 games, he threw 2 touchdowns, and it was like watching
it was pretty ugly.
It was like watching your kid ride like a bike with training wheels, right? That's kind of felt like what it felt like. I was like, is it gonna make it?
But even if he's not average, like Bijan can still have an RB1 season.
I just think the fade on Bijan has been fair because Arthur Smith has hurt us so much, right? It's hard to trust him.
Yeah,
but at the same time, like they did draft him 7th overall. But this, seeing Cordero Patterson show up as the Joker. Did you see that? How they released their starting lineup and they had 12?
What was that? He's a troll. He's trolling us.
What if like Cordero and Tyler Algier are super involved and it's
that
like a
would be
3-way
disaster? Oh my god, I'd be financially ruined.
I think it's more likely that they have 2 1,000-yard rushers than it is that Bijan has the greatest rookie fantasy season of all time.
At the same time, what if Algier gets hurt and it's just like the Bijan show?
Just
and
volume time, 20 touches a game. Yeah.
Or it's like Arthur Smith's coaching for his job, and it's like we're just gonna fucking get vertical with Bijan Robinson. Like
if Algier goes down, they're calling Leonard Fournette right away. Arthur Smith will not let us have this. He won't let us have this.
He wouldn't let us have Kyle Pitts. So I was looking at Kyle Pitts' stats, and it was like best yards per route run when he's out wide of any tight end, best yards per route run when he's in line, or like 6th best. He did like pretty decent yards per route run when he's in the slot. And then you just understand that all of his targets were like deep shots. It's like, can we just get Kyle Pitts some screens? Can we run him on some really easy routes and see what he can do with the ball in his hands? Like, why do we make this
stupid? It's stupid.
It's just deep shots. It's like, it's amazing because it's like, what tight end is getting deep shots? Like, that's incredible if you could connect on those. But at the same time, like, can we make this easy on Kyle Pitts? Like, I know that we're kind of Fourier. This isn't even a bold prediction. This is just a therapy session for Kyle Pitts drafters. But
it's a safe space always.
I guess because the Falcons are such an enigma, because if you figure this offense out, I feel like it has the league-winning upside. Who do you think scores the most fantasy points in this offense as a skill position player?
Bijan.
Yeah.
It's Bijan.
PPR, how do we feel about Drake London?
Dude, you would need
I don't think they're
the
going to pass
biggest
him.
season in the world from Drake London to pass Bijan.
You need it from Desmond Ridder because I don't think the volume's going to be that high passing-wise.
Because for these guys to hit home, it feels like this offense needs to score touchdowns, and a lot of them. Because what's the volume going to look like? That's the issue.
I think that especially Pitts and London, though. I think they especially need to score touchdowns. Bijan is going to get enough volume on the ground and short shit, where I think he's not as touchdown needy, but will need it as well. Like probably needs
Pitts in London could be some of the most annoying fantasy starts the entire year. I know how good London is, and he demands targets because he is so good. But if Desmond Ridder only throws the ball 19 times a game, 22 times a game, that's just not volume where you can walk in every week and be like, all right, Drake London, you're starting, and you're going to get me 17, 18 points every week. Like it could be really, really frustrating with the Falcons
sure.
this year.
Who passes more, Bears or Falcons?
Bears.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Design passes or actual passes? Like more drop
Because
or
yeah,
pass
Fields
attempts?
is just gonna say fuck it. I'm taking this one to the house.
More dropbacks or passing attempts. Yeah,
Let's go pass attempts to make it more fair.
I still think the Bears.
Ooh.
Who passes the ball? Who do you think leads the league in like who has the least amount of pass attempts? I think I have my answer, and I don't think
The
it's either
least
these
amount of
teams.
pass attempts?
Yeah,
Ooh.
I think it's the Colts. I think it's the Colts.
Yeah, it has to be.
I think the Colts are gonna. I don't think they're gonna pass the ball. that
Anthony
much.
Richardson might run the ball 150 times this year.
It's gonna be a lot of opportunities. They've already got the three-way committee. I just think that offense is built to run the ball. A sleeper too. I don't think the Texans are gonna toss the rock that much this year either.
I think the Cardinals are also a sleeper pick. They're just pound James Conner into the ground and just like professionally tank. Just
The offense that no one's asking for. It's the how many touches can we get James Conner? Oh jeez, I don't. That offense is an enigma because we just don't know how they're gonna play. I think that I think
Colts is probably
the
the best
Panthers too. Oh god, these rookie quarterbacks. Which rookie quarterback do we think throws the most passing touchdowns this season?
Stroud.
I don't want to say it, but I bet it's going to be Bryce Young.
Okay. I got Aidan O'Connell.
That'd be wow. You got AOC. Jesus.
Aidan O'Connell is going to lead this. That's a great hot take. Oh my god, that's my take. Aidan O'Connell leads all these rookies in fantasy points this season. When Jimmy G inevitably sprains his ankle in week 3, because that's book it. That's for sure happening.
AOC is good for the culture.
That is crazy.
Ah, wow. The more we think about it, the less we know. I'll tell you that. Again, I can't believe we're
We're
day
gonna
away
get like
from this
maybe
kicking off.
10% of these right, but we are going to victory lap the shit out of it. It's gonna
Speak
be
for
awesome.
yourself.
Yeah. I've already locked Mike Williams in. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm about 100% on these. What do you mean? I've seen the future.
Regular season schedule. We're going to be coming to you, I believe, 3 times a week. We're still figuring this out, but we'll have waiver wire, we'll have start sit, and we'll have recaps. So last year we combined recaps and waiver wire. We're still figuring out that schedule. This week we'll probably be recording Thursday night, so we'll be getting to you after kickoff, and we'll be going through some of our favorite matchups of the week. It's kind of like throwing I don't even know. It's like throwing dice on like week 1 matchups. It's hard to know for certain which defenses are truly good, which offenses are truly good. We'll take our best guess on terms of who's going to go crazy in some of our favorite bets heading into week 1. But guys, before we jump, anything we say to the viewers and listeners at home?
Now is a perfect time to subscribe, to turn on your YouTube notifications, to follow us on Twitter. Make sure you buy some milk and cookies and leave it out for Scott Hansen at 9:30 a.m. before he stops into your living room.
I just got the chills.
Do not, I repeat, do not take anything away from this Sunday. Sit on the couch, enjoy 8 hours of commercial-free football with Scott. Try out the Octobox. Tinker your lineups. Get the group chat going. We are back.
Yeah, if you haven't rotated out who you're playing in your flex 3 times already this week, you're not living life right. Come on. Like that's a decision.
Yeah.
That's a rite of passage here. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and until next time.